everyone for being here. Raise your hand if you are currently an 8th grader. This is the high school orientation for 8th graders. In other words, we're going to talk to you today about next year, your first year of high school, 9th grade. My name is Kat Caslin. I'm one of our guidance counselors. I'd love to introduce our, there are 3 of us, and we'll all be here after the presentation to answer any questions you might have. So if you're going to be taking classes here at the Roseville Learning Center next year, you will be dealing with Mrs. Klusnick quite a bit. She'll be here one day a week, every week. I'd like to just start by telling you that the workshop today is going to talk about the differences between what it is to be in middle school as an 8th grader and starting high school. We'll discuss the different pathways you can choose as a high schooler. That relates to the classes you'll end up choosing. We'll discuss graduation requirements. What does that mean and what are they? We'll discuss how you earn credits and grades in high school, which is very different from the way you've been used to it. We'll touch on our college entrance requirements, and throughout the year, every year as a high schooler, you will have access to a lot more college information, including our college and career workshops that happen each semester. We will also discuss your options for taking your classes and getting your instruction in our independent study organization. And then we'll end the session by talking about what kind of classes do you take as a 9th grader starting high school. So hopefully that fits your expectations of what we would cover today. What it's been like to be an 8th grader and what it's going to look like to be a high schooler. And there are some pretty substantial differences. You've been used to, since you started kindergarten, getting report cards from your teachers. In high school, that looks really different. You end up getting what's called a transcript. So every class you take, every grade you earn, and the credits associated with that will go on a document called a transcript, and it records all your classes through your whole 4 years of high school. Parents who have older kids probably know some of this already. The biggest difference is in K-8, you're earning grades for the classes you take. In high school, you're earning a grade and you're earning credits. A typical semester class is worth 5 credits. So your transcript is not only going to reflect how well you did in a class, it's going to reflect that you passed that class and earned your 5 credits for that class. One of the coolest options we like to think that you get in high school is not only will you have access to take your classes via independent study or take vendor classes or take classes at a learning center, but you can also now take classes online. You have 4 different ways to access your curriculum, which is pretty exciting. A lot of our high schoolers enjoy our online classes. Parents, you'll like to hear this. Your funding per semester goes from $800 to $900. The reason being, we'll talk a little bit more about the funding model as we get deeper into the workshop. But basically, high school textbooks cost a little more, and the online classes also have an associated cost. So in 8th grade, you pass your classes with some good grades, and your teacher says, yes, you're eligible to promote into high school. Well, in high school, not only do you have to pass your classes, earn your credits, you also have to take the high school exit exam. So every student in the state of California has to pass what's called the CASE, the California High School Exit Exam, which is taken as a 10th grader in the spring of your 10th grade, and that's part of the process of earning your diploma. And if you meet all of your graduation requirements, as well as passing the CASE, you will be earning a diploma. In 8th grade, you're earning the honor of promoting into high school, but there's no associated diploma or certificate with that. And for the last few years, you've been focusing on, I got to get ready to get into high school. Well, when you start high school, your whole plan changes, and you start thinking about, I have to get ready for what I'm going to do after high school, whether it's adult life, college, world of work, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that affects the kind of classes you choose to take in high school. So some of you may already know where you're headed in the next few years. High school is 4 years, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And after those 4 years, you will be receiving a high school diploma and moving on to the next step. For some of you, that might be going to community college or getting a job right away. Others of you might be striving to get into a University of California or other four-year school, and that's going to require that you take a different type of class to be prepared and qualified for that. And others of you may even be thinking, I'm going to go to a really competitive four-year college. And in that case, you are going to need to make sure that your course selections are highly competitive, and that might include advanced placement courses. So we'll talk a little bit more about the different types of courses that you can take. First, I'd like to talk about the general graduation requirements. And as you walked in, everybody should have gotten one of these handouts. Horizon Charter Schools requires 230 credits to graduate. So don't freak out. You have 4 years to earn all of those credits. Typically, you're taking 5 to 6 classes or 25 to 30 credits per semester. So there's lots of time to get to that total over 4 years. Some schools have different high school graduation requirements. They might require up to 260 credits to graduate. So we're kind of right there in the middle. Those requirements include having to take 4 years of English, 2 years of math, 3 years of science. So when you can see one class is worth 10 credits. So when I say 3 years, that's 30 credits. 2 years of history, a semester of government and economics. We require your students take health, a couple years of PE. We have a culminating senior project called our PLP. And actually some schools have that requirement and others don't, but that will be a career or community project that culminates in a presentation to a panel. It's a lot of our seniors get very excited about it because that's the time they start exploring their careers. We also have a semester computer requirement that all freshmen take. And in addition to that, 60 elective credits. So pretty much every semester with your core classes, you're also taking an elective or two as you go. Again, does anyone remember what the exam that has to be passed is called? California High School Exit Exam, the KC. So those are the graduation requirements for our school. Let's talk about how you actually earn credits in a class, though. You can't just take a class and you get your credits. You actually have to pass the class with a D or higher. A D is considered a passing grade, and you will then earn your credits. The interesting thing about your grades in high school going on to a transcript is that they all average up every semester as you go, and they build into something called your GPA, your grade point average. Has anyone heard that term before, GPA? So I gave you a little math problem for you to solve, and our GPA scale is based on a 4.0 scale. That means an A is worth 4 points, a B is worth 3 points, and so let's just say your first semester as a freshman, you're taking English 9, Earth Science, Algebra 1, Health, PE, and Spanish. And these are your respective grades. You got 4 B's, a C, and an A. Someone want to try to walk me through the steps to figure out your GPA? I'll give you a hint. Grade point average. You add up the total in the set, and you divide by the total number in the set, and that's how you get your GPA. So you got, this added up to 18, divided by 6 classes is 3. So the GPA for that semester will be a 3.0 or a B average for that student. The reason I'm telling you that is because GPA matters for a lot of different reasons when you're in high school. First off, when you're trying to get into college, you can strive to have a GPA over 4.0, and that's by taking some advanced classes either through advanced placement or at the community college level. And as a sophomore and junior, you can start taking classes at that level. Another reason is if you're planning on going to a CSU or UC, they require that you have a C or better in their approved A through G courses in order to qualify for admissions. So we saw your kiddo starting with a B GPA is on the right track because you have to have an overall GPA at the end of, in every class of a C or better to be in this good standing to get into college. Other things that are affected by GPA is your ability to get a work permit. That requires that you maintain a 2.0 GPA. And some of our outside classes, like being able to take a class at community college or through the regional and occupational program, requires that you have certain GPA and grade age limits to qualify. I guarantee after your first semester, when you get your transcript and your first set of grades, you'll look closely at that. So we're getting to the point where we're going to talk about what kind of classes you can take as a freshman and how do you go about deciding that. Well, the key thing is to understand what your goals are after high school. So there's pretty much three options, excluding the world of work. We're talking about extending your education beyond high school. A lot of kids go to community college, which is a 2-year program where you get an AA degree and perhaps transfer to a 4-year university. They do not have any entrance requirements. You might take a placement test once you apply. And as you look at the bottom of that grid there, you can see tuition is relatively affordable, maybe with books and all about $1,500 a year. A lot of kids choose that route. But if you have your mindset on going to a CSU or UC, that affects the type of classes you should choose. The A through G courses are required. Those are courses that are approved by the UC doorways, and we offer the full 15 required courses that you need to be college bound, and some of your test scores are even considered, and most of the schools require you take the SAT or ACT exam. So there's a lot more things you need to do in high school if that's the track that you think you might take. If you take a look at the tuition, though, it can range anywhere from $5,000 to $14,000 a year, depending on if you're going to CSU Hayward or UC Berkeley. There's going to be a big spread in your tuition. And then our private universities typically a little more competitive on their admissions requirements. And if that's your goal, and the guidance department will help you with determining that goal as you go through high school. You don't have to know what you're doing right now. But that type of student with that goal should be striving to take advanced placement courses to boost their GPA and get the college prep background. Those courses are very rigorous. If you take a look at the tuition, private universities can begin at $25,000 a year on up. I think the most expensive school in the country is the University of Southern California, $65,000 a year, tuition and room and board. I mentioned taking 15 A through G classes if you're college bound. So in the handout that you have, you'll have this printout, and all this information will be available to you if you enroll with our school next year on our hub and website, so you can go get more details about it. But essentially, you do have to take this series of classes. The UC requires you take extra math, extra science, and extra foreign language above and beyond our minimum graduation requirements. So just know if you're college bound, this gets you your diploma, but if you want to go on to college, you're going to have to fulfill some additional requirements. And our school offers the full array of those choices for you. I think I've mentioned that in those A through G courses, you have to have a C or better to gain your validation, and that our A through G courses are offered either at a learning center or online. Those are your two options for next year for being able to start that course program. There is one thing that families have found, especially if you're a good test taker and you're doing very well in your courses and plan to take the SAT test, you can take the SAT subject test, and that might also meet the A through G requirement for that class area. Same with taking classes at community college. That's another way to meet the A through G requirement. Those courses are mostly A through G approved. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you're rising freshmen, and you'll have a couple of years to start thinking about this, but if you don't start your freshman year in those courses, you'll have to make up a lot of stuff. So I really encourage all ninth graders just to start on that track, and if it's not for you, down the road, your guidance counselor will help you find a different program. We already talked about our AP classes, but I should let you know that because of the nature of our school, we're independent study and we're very regionally spread out. Sometimes it's difficult to offer a large variety of AP classes just because of demand and enrollment. Okay, this is probably what the parents want to know more about, and that is, how do I access my curriculum? How is my student going to be taking their classes in high school? Well, essentially there's 4 options, whereas if you're currently a student with Horizon, you already know the 3 of them. But you can take your courses independent study. That's where parent is involved in the teaching and you're meeting with your supervising teacher once a month or every 20 days. That programming is free, but you do have the option of meeting with your teacher more often if you feel that meets the needs of your child, or you just enjoy having that. You can go to a weekly teacher meeting. That does affect your funding, however. We have really ramped up our online course options. Typical course is an hour and a half of instruction per week, and there's online tutoring access, so your student can interact with their teacher when they need to, and there's live teaching sessions that are recorded that your student can go back and see. And it's not for every student, but if you're very disciplined and you're high tech and enjoy, that's your learning style, you can access your A through G classes online. So that is a good option for if you're choosing the college preparatory pathway. Another way to access your classes is by signing up for classes at the Learning Center. Now, if you are already an 8th grader, you've probably met with your ST and talked about classes for next year. They probably asked you, do you plan on taking some classes at Roseville Learning Center next year? So you may already have an idea that you are going to come here on Monday, Wednesday, which is when the high school classes are offered. And the classes are an hour and a half long. We try to build the schedule so that all 10th graders can be here and get 2 classes each day that they're here. Sometimes it doesn't work out and there's scheduling conflicts, and that's when you might catch your other class online. I'll just point out that students are limited to taking 3 classes at the Learning Center, and it's typically our core academic classes that are offered here, in addition to the support labs that are required for science and foreign language. So if your student is studying chemistry, they do need to have a live teacher-led science lab to accompany that. And of course, you still have access as a high schooler to our many vendor opportunities if you would like to pursue your unique electives. However, we will be offering our A through G drama and A through G art appreciation next year as well. That's teacher taught, and it will be at the sites. Yep. Am I correct about that? Art may be online with 1 lab day. Your ST can clarify what's going to be offered in your region or at your learning center. I touched on funding briefly. I'll just run through it real quick, but your ST will go deeper with you because you might be making some unique choices based on ability to make it to the learning center, ability to access the internet from your home, and those types of things. But I did mention that if you're going to start, if you think you want to have teacher contact weekly and have that weekly meeting, that's going to be $700 out of your funding. Whereas if you just sign up for our standard ST meeting once a month, it's free, and that leaves you more room to take Learning Center classes, which are $230, or an online course, which is $230. This is all in your packet if you want to kind of do the math to see what you're left with for signing up for some cool vendor classes, or if you need to rent a laptop, we have that available, and that's $70. That's pretty much all you need to know about cost. Textbooks can range from $75 to $175, depending on your needs. If you're the teacher edition is a little bit more. So now you can see why the high school funding is boosted a little bit to support your choices there. Okay, 9th graders, rising 9th graders, this is for you. Next year, based on the classes you need to take to work towards your diploma, these are going to be your course options. So take a look here. You're going to have to take an English, math, science, get your health and computer requirement out of the way. Typically, 9th graders take their PE class or an elective. And if you are on the college preparatory pathway, your elective should probably be your A through G foreign language. This year we're offering Spanish live at the learning centers. If you're interested in another language, that will be online course with, I believe the labs are more Skype related. So can someone tell me, why do I have different choices in English? Have an idea why it says English 9 or A through G English 9? Kind of see a hand up over there. Was that? We talked about if you're thinking of going to a CSU or UC, they have a minimum of 15 A through G approved courses that you have to take. And if you're going to start the college preparatory pathway, you'd be signing up for A through G English 9, not just English 9. So that's what the difference is. Why do you think we have a difference between, in your math choices, algebra, A through G algebra, geometry, A through G geometry? Who all is taking Algebra 1 right now as an 8th grader? Good for you. That means you don't have to repeat it in high school. You're going to start with geometry. Okay. If you have not taken Algebra 1 in middle school, you will need to take it as a freshman, and that begins your math sequence. So students start at different math sequences as freshmen. Same with science. If you have finished Algebra 1, you typically start with A through G biology. If not, you start with A through G earth science. So any questions about this outline of the courses you might be taking? So now it's your turn to think about this. Are you going to be following the A through G college preparatory pathway? Are you going to take classes at the Learning Center? Do you want to take online classes? Once you have an idea of those three things, you'll be able to meet with your supervising teacher and make your class selections, do a master agreement for next year. So now you have the tools behind you to understand why and how to make your course selections. This is what I'm going to do. The 3 guidance counselors are available, and if you feel like you want to come talk to any of us with individual questions about your individual situation, that is what we will do at this time, is we are available for you. Thank you so much for making the time to show up today.